Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, good morning, depending where we are located. I'm Dario, the chairman of Next Pharma Summit. Really glad to open our first webinar for this year with a fantastic team, which is Pharma's digital journey from zero to hero. Sounds simple. Let's see and find out if it is really that simple. Really glad to welcome 4 extraordinary panelists today. And first, let's start with ladies first, as they say. So we have Anastasiya Kolyasnikova from Sanofi, head of multi-channel marketing for HCPs. Hi, Anastasiya, how are you?
Hi, very well. Hope you're well too. Nice to meet you here.
Thank you. Ignacio Lara from Spain, the former Vice President and Commercial Director of GSK. Hi, Ignacio, how are you?
Hi, everyone. I'm really nice. Just looking forward to meeting with you all and just discussing a few topics. Very interesting topic indeed. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you, Ignacio. Mark Bentin, founder and CEO of WeHealth. Mark, same question for you.
Indeed. Well, good morning or afternoon, and looking forward to the next step in this journey together.
And Duncan from Teva, UK. Hi, Duncan. Same question to you. How are you, and how's weather in UK?
Hi, Dario. Yeah, the weather is grey as usual in the UK, but looking forward to a warm chat with my fellow panelists and you, Dario.
Perfect. So before we start, I would just like to inform our audience that we launched very recently, actually like 7 days ago, that we are doing a brand new event, the Next Normal virtual conference, mainly focused on pharma digital, commercial experience and excellence and customer experience. So please feel free to register. For pharma delegates, it's free to attend, so no ticket submissions, and please feel free to join that initiative. So let's kick off with today's meeting. We have one very interesting slide, and I kindly asked Mark to set the stage on that slide because first, I think we definitely should set the foundations and speak about the digital journey and what does it mean. Has it changed? What is a digital journey 1 year ago? What does it mean to have a digital journey today? So please, Mark, can you kindly inform us about that particular digital journey and how you imagine it?
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting that obviously the last year has been different for everybody and has advanced all of the implications of digital for the whole industry at the right time. But the digital efforts have been going on for at least 10 years in various different ways, building foundations and moving forward. But it looks like the next stage is really about acceleration across the board, really being able to capitalize on better customer experiences, being able to drive more engagements, and to do so much more easily than the heavy lifting that was needed to happen several years ago. But at the end of the day, a journey, whether it's for a patient or for a physician, is all about moving that understanding from a point A to a point B through a series of idealized planned steps, and then being able to update or remeasure. And obviously, any journey that we come up with, whether it's different for one physician or one patient or the same across the board, it's all about trying to assure the speed with which that journey can happen, the execution capability, as well as its overall impact and how do we measure it. So those are some of the key questions that the industry is faced with. And now as we move into this next normal, what does that mean for 2021 and beyond?
Thank you. Personally, I think that we are still in the dawn of this whole digital journey. But again, let's set foundations and define what means a proper digital journey. So let's start with you, Anastasiya. Can you please set these foundations and let us know about the proper digital journey definition?
For sure. So speaking about the journey, yes, and from zero to hero, from my point of view, each company should define the hero for itself. So it's such kind of image, yes, and what Mark said, where we want to go, where we are heading to. And when we can define this image of hero, then it will be easier for us as a companies to define mid-touch points where we should, should go together. And I think one more point here, that the journey, the digital journey, it should be separate from the company strategy. It should be fully aligned, because what's about the digital, it's kind of source to company to contribute to be more profitable, efficient, and help us to achieve a better results overall. And usually, I think when the companies build up such kind of digital journeys, they are thinking about sales force role transformation, marketing capabilities, implementation of different tools, technologies, like automatization, tools for data gathering and its analysis as well, some personalization techniques, and just the overall mindset, how to be more innovative and how adopt faster to different changes. And as we at Sanofi, we decided also to think about this digital journey as a customer journey. And for every stakeholder that should be involved in this transformation, we decided to create a roadmap and also define some image what we want to achieve together. And we didn't decide, I know, such particular step to do. We should decide it together because I think it's very important for everybody really to understand, to believe in this idea and this image, and only in this case any resistance will happen, because resistance is what usually, really damage the proper journeys, if I could say like that.
Thank you, Anastasia. Very good point, especially about the resistance. So change is always good, but in the mindset, it's always very hard to achieve it, right? Let's move forward to you, Ignacio. Same question.
Thanks. No, really, I think really is a good question, and I fully agree with many of the comments of Anastasia in that setting, because I think for these kind of things of the digital journey, and we are a little bit exhausted at the beginning of this journey. Everyone was a little bit reluctant to adopt in this kind of technology, reluctant to do anything in digital because say, okay, normal life is going to come back. But now everyone is embracing this kind of new journey. Everyone is wanting to follow this kind of journey. And now the way is how we are going to be overcoming all the different channels. Are we going to be able to monitoring everything that is happening there? What is going to be the purpose? Of course, we have now the tools. We are developing new tools every single day. We are using these tools to leverage the value of the strategy that we have inside the different business. So it's really, really important now just to be thinking about what's going to be the solution strategy instead of our brand strategy, how this digital is going to be incorporated in that, how we are going to be able to overcome what is going to be the new trends. So we are trying to anticipate there. And we are seeing as well in the ecosystem that most of the startups as a spin-off are really faster and agile and flexible. And most of the large companies are a little bit more step by step, slowly just acquiring different things. But at the end, it's a question of the different investment. Which one is going to be the priority? Which one is going to be choosing? How that one is going to be moved forward? But I think the proper digital journey is the one that's going to be generating value and not volume, because we know in the data, volume data, a lot of data knows what is the value that we are going to be able to put there. We are able to do that. It's going to be the proper digital journey.
Definitely quality instead of quantity, right? Mark?
Yeah, the key question here, and I agree with the points, is you asked what's the proper digital journey. Ultimately, it's the one that leads to success, whether it's for at a company level or an HCP level or a physician or a patient level. It's those things that are necessary for that individual at that time. For many years, we've all talked about, the Amazon type of model, right message or right offer to right customer at right moment in time. Here, obviously, in this industry, there are many indirect channels that need to be kind of orchestrated in this way. And it's important to be able to guide this journey by being agile. The company needs to be agile. The items themselves need to be reactive to the environment that we are in, to make use of different assets, plus the ability to test very quickly. Does this work? Will this new channel that we'd like to roll out, does it help assist in certain pockets, and then can we get it to scale quickly? I think that is the next stage of overall adoption. The tracks have been laid, but now we need to see, well, how can we get our goods to market that much more quickly, that much more easily, and try and generate those engagements that are that much more memorable. And if we're not doing it, certainly in one company, certainly the competitors are looking at this, and so it's very important to be and have that agile mindset.
Thank you, Mark. Duncan?
Just thinking about the title of this webinar and the question. So from zero to hero and the idea of a journey, I think there are kind of two journeys to think about here. One is Pharma's journey. So to get to a point where digital is not a kind of an add-on, a thing sort of sprinkled on the top or applied inconsistently in a disconnected fashion. And the other is actually thinking about kind of journeys in the kind of digital UX sense of who's your audience and how do you plot their touch points to achieve something. And I think the two things are related. I mean, I'm a relatively new import to the world of pharma. I come from a consumer tech background, working with brands like Sony Mobile and Microsoft Xbox. And I was brought in specifically to bring more of a kind of consumer audience-centric mindset to digital when, as an external consultant, when Teva were looking at overhauling their global corporate brand. And everyone told me at the time that the reason why digital couldn't be applied was the sort of regulation was in the way. But the regulation was very vague, abstract, and the more I looked at it, the more I realized the regulation didn't really say we couldn't do it, but there wasn't really a great incentive to apply digital at a kind of scaled enterprise level, because you could still go out and talk to your customers. You weren't talking to patients directly, you were talking to HCPs, you were talking to pharmacists, and it was still economically viable to go out and speak to them face to face, which meant that digital was a sort of nice to have on the side, but it wasn't your core route to market. I think the thing that's happened in the last year is, even though the model of pharma hasn't changed, we're not marketing pharmaceuticals to patients, we were no longer able to go out and meet our customers face to face. So suddenly the audience-centric digital marketing techniques are needed in order to engage our customers. And I think that has suddenly opened the way for kind of 10 years of tinkering in the background that Mark mentioned to suddenly be all connected up together. And it's that's actually creating genuine journeys. So there's the pharma journey to get to that point, which has been accelerated in the last year. And then there's the sudden connecting up of channels and initiatives and disciplines that have been quite disconnected in a lot of organizations. I don't think my experience with Teva is unique. Suddenly, there is a right of way to connect all of those things. I think that's why we're starting to talk about digital as a driver of commercial value, as opposed to digital as a thing that we all think we probably should be doing, that ends up just being kind of sort of tech PR headline type digital, a partnership with IBM here, or we've bought Salesforce there, that sort of thing. So I think we're in a really interesting place with the digital journey. I don't know if I've answered the question there, but it's certainly an interesting area for discussion.
Definitely, if I can sum it up with a very simple remark which you made, we went from nice to have to must to have, right? But now we need to master it. Let's move forward to the next question. We all know almost 1 year since COVID came, since we dramatically accelerated digital transformation. But let's define who are nowadays the common, or what are nowadays the common digital gaps, and where do you see them most? Let's start this time with you, Ignacio. Ignacio? You're on mute, Ignacio.
We use that phrase, yes. Even today.
I think that's one of the gaps right there.
Perfect. I think one of the gaps is that ones that we have just having now. The way how the people is embracing the technology, and see when you are in mute. How many times we have been hearing that once you're in mute, come back again. So that's click here or click there. Now, indeed, no, that's very true. But I think try to think it a little bit beyond, and many different gaps. One of those as well is the fatigue, because we have enabled, and I mentioned at the beginning, this volume of information or data for the people, for the physician, in the case of the pharma, for everyone. So it's this kind of Zoom fatigue. This is still there. It's a challenge. It's a gap that we have to be able to think about how we are going to overcome as well. Maybe it's because the content, we have to be able to creating a content to retain the people, to creating more attentions there, how we are going to be able to move in that setting. So that's one of the gaps in that setting. And as well as something that I've been seeing internally as well, the change of mindset, the switch on the mindset of many people, even when everyone is embracing digital, but we have to be thinking about digital in a broader scope. When they're thinking beyond, so artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, going a little bit beyond about how this digital can be transforming and can be impacting the life of many people there on all this data and information. That's one is another one. And I think the third one for me as well has been this alignment between the strategy. We are still thinking about the brand experience instead of the customer experience in a pharma. We have to still a way to be able to embrace this kind of big journey, this digital, and try not to having this gap with strategy. So in an overview, I think these three gaps are the most relevant.
Thank you, Ignacio. Duncan, how you see these gaps, especially coming from another industry previously?
So it sort of ties back to my answer to the first question. I think there has been a lot of work done in the background on digital. I think it's sort of been a unique year in that it's given right of way for lots of things to be connected up that previously like existed in silos because they were requirements. I think only now that these different systems are being connected up can they actually be used in the way that they were intended. You know, often technologies, you know, whether it's your sort of CRM system, it's your kind of performance marketing, sort of paid media, have been used in kind of small pilots and generated some kind of efficacy data around how much it costs to engage your audience, you know, how you can increase levels of engagement, how you can drive, you know, potentially customers through a funnel. But they haven't been used at a scale where you can start to collect the data and you can start to refine those. So I think the opportunity now is to take those technologies at scale, you know, run the machine, collect the data, and start to build a picture of how it's supporting the commercial organization, and start kind of tinkering with the different levers. You know, if we invest more there, if we provide more content there, if we analyze that data here, can we find an insight that will be valuable there? I think all of the kind of higher order digital discipline stuff has just been opened up, and while there are plenty of people who understand it, they haven't actually been able to apply it at scale before this point. So I think the gap is, you know, between the theory and the application. And I think it's quite exciting what we're going to see over the next couple of years as the theory gets applied. And some things that are kind of heavily touted, the sort of AIs, I suspect, are probably not cooked yet. You know, they will not necessarily provide immediate value, whereas other technologies that are, you know, perhaps a little bit less flashy might well provide a lot more value. You know, getting all of your digital engagement data into one place and starting to kind of pump that into your paid media to make your targeting more effective, for example. I don't think that's been done at the scale in a lot of pharma companies up until this point. So I think the gap is between theory and execution, and I think it's, you know, hopefully closing. Okay,
thank you. So is it a gap or a black hole? How do you see it?
Well, I think it's it certainly has been a chasm in the past. I think it is possible to pole vault over it at this point. I think it's got a bit narrower, but there are definitely some of the things that looked good on paper are going to get lost in the gap, and other things will turn out to be kind of heroes and become staple parts of the way that pharma organizations sort of structure and run their businesses.
Thank you, Duncan. Mark?
Yeah, I would follow on and agree with that in general. I think one of the key gaps would be that gap between data and decision making. Obviously, the time span is meant to be getting shorter and shorter with the automation of various decisions, but then you want to be able to execute on those decisions that are made, whether they're made manually by humans or by machine, and being able to tighten that whole cycle of that content supply chain or that digital supply chain to actually generate the next step result is one key gap. And very often in a lot of organizations that haven't yet embraced this data-driven culture, that the data is too far. It's being looked at for reports on a macro level for the business and its operation, but it's not really being tied to the channels that can actually drive the business day in and day out through better engagement with customers. Really what people are looking for, physicians or patients, is give me the bite-sized chunks of material that I need at this moment in time that'll engage me a little bit further and teach me something and bring me forward. They're not necessarily always looking to spend an hour with a set of materials or even 15 minutes. It's really about trying to fit a bite-sized material. So very often there are lots of things at our disposal that we might not be doing in organizations just to take advantage of those small snackable pieces of content, that to coin a phrase. So I think that's one gap. I would suggest that one of the other key gaps is just the service skills, whether it's on the representative side or across various markets, just the ease or the confidence to be able to execute digital things well. That's that reliable engine to be able to turn, whether it's from the marketing side or from on the field basis, just making sure that people have that confidence to execute whatever is required via some digital medium and to move that forward. That's where the ideas get created and the service skills actually move forward, and all of our customers, whether physicians or patients, can follow along with that.
Thank you, Mark. Anastasiya?
So how we can see, we have a lot of gaps. When I personally think about the question, I also thought about the technical and some kind of behavioral gaps. Of course, behavior is not about the digital, but they are, comes after when the digital it comes. So it's important to mention it as well. So when I think about the technical part, I mostly think about the content right now at the moment, because right now it's lacks of personalization. And it's not just more that we don't know about our customers, clients, and what we would like to deliver to them. More or less right now, I think we're already aware and have a clear image about it. However, when we talk about the personalization, it's also like a technological gap here, because still the content leads half manually. I mean, we still need some adaptation to different formats, different channels for different segments, for different needs, if I could say like that. And of course, it takes more time for the company to deliver the message to the exact customer, and of course it take more time and budget consuming, because we have to we cannot reuse it very fastly. We just need to sometimes just grab it and create from scratch. So of course technology in this place will help facilitate the process of the content delivery and personalization. And coming to my first point about this resistance, yes, this behavioral gap that I already mentioned, yes, it's the common truth that the people, when something new is happening, they don't like to adjust to the new rules. But yes, for some parts of the people, they can do it quickly. But what we also see from the COVID situation, that some parts of the people, they're still in the process of accepting it, saying that they thinking that, yeah, anyway, the COVID-19 will stop someday, it will all come back in the previous situation, and there is no need for me to be hurry in these changes. And that's, yeah, maybe the hardest part that we are working right now at Sanofi. I mean, tries to push, not to push, okay, but yeah, agree that we all need to change right now at the moment.
Thank you, Anastasiya. I also would like to encourage our audience to raise questions. So if any question pops up on your mind, please just drop it in the chat section. And in the meantime, we actually received one particular very interesting question, which is many sales reps are beginning to be really worried about their future, right? They may think their job position is in a worse position than ever now with this new multi-channel digital environment. What are the keys so that the sales rep can succeed, and what new capabilities do they need to get from now on? Who would like to answer first on that?
I'm happy to give that one a go. I mean, I'm connected to the corporate brand and communications function in Teva, so I can't speak. We work with the commercial guys and the sales teams, but I certainly can't sort of give a point of view from the Teva side. But I think it's certainly an area of pharma that is going through transformation, and you know, the changes over the last year have obviously made the role of the sales teams challenging, and there may well be some kind of long-term implications for the way that sales forces are structured. But I think there's a more interesting view if you kind of cast out further, which is to say, what's the future of pharma products? And it's probably combinations of, you know, traditional pharmaceuticals with digital support services, whether those are kind of, you know, connected hardwares, or whether they are kind of software platforms that go alongside treatment, that help to manage treatment, that improve efficacy. Well, if that's the future of the products, well, the role of the sales force is going to evolve quite a lot in time, because you can't bring just one platform to market that will work everywhere. You know, even between different hospital trusts in the UK, you have like massive differences in standard kind of operating procedures and systems. So I can sort of see a future where the sales force is geared up more like a software integration partner team, where they work with the customer organizations to customize these platforms to work alongside, you know, traditional products, but to deliver efficacy, to analyze the data coming back, to refine the product, you know, maybe not the pharmaceutical side of it, but certainly the kind of digital support side of it, and improve it over time. So it could be a really exciting place to be in 5 years. I just don't know what the next 2 years looks like. Maybe I've kind of cast a little bit further than the question was really asking.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I suppose, yes, it was like quite a long-term vision from Duncan, what you already mentioned. But in my opinion, globally, the roles stay the same at this moment. It's more about like new functions are added and new objectives and some new expectations from them. And I think, yeah, we of course have a lot of conversation, I mean, internally with our sales team, with all levels, how they feel about it right now. And I think that it becomes obvious for us right now that at the moment, medical representatives are like key connectors between the HCPs and the company, because they really understand the customer needs. They could customize and personalize messages according to their needs and special preferences. Of course, they can, you know, combine all communications that we have like in one together and wholesome story, and of course help companies, you know, to overcome this technological gap, and as well as bring like a digital offerings and solutions that company already trying to provide to HCPs, yeah, and integrate it in wholesome. So globally, they are all like a sales organization, and I mean, I think the one important part is to have a proper conversation with them, just to talk about what the expectations right now, support them with the tools, with proper trainings, also understand the first steps, coming back to our first question, to this digital journey, and how their role would be, you know, evolve in the 1 or 2 year perspective.
Anastasia, Mark?
May I add a comment there? Yeah, no, I agree with the comment of Anastasiya there and the comment from Duncan as well in the moment that they mentioned about the hybrid model in which they are going to be able to, or thinking about how to manage the different ways or what is the right channel and moving in that direction. Indeed, this kind of field for COVID situation, the impact has been evolving in a different direction. I remember when this was happening there, all the field force was a little bit reluctant or resistant to embrace this kind of digital way. Now this thing has been evolving. But one of the things that we have been observing as well is where the relationship was better with different stakeholders. So this kind of digital travel or journey was a little bit faster. In the other sense, we haven't seen yet this kind of physician or anyone or prescriber who is able to receiving no contact with rep, no contact with MSLs, not seeing the patients there in a telemedicine, be able to prescribe a new drug, a new medication. That one has been a little bit challenging so far. How that one is going to be evolve is something relevant as well. And in the thinking about the upskills for the reps and other people there, probably the MSL is going to have something more on demand because this kind of scientific conversation and things like that. And the reps are going to be evolving in this kind of different relationships, but they have to upskill thinking about listening in a social media, real-time conversations, having this kind of contents, next step, best actions, or what is going to be the next message that they have to deliver. And one of the most important things is about segmentations. All these situations has creating a lot of different profiles and stakeholders and many one. We have to be able to segment and be able to deliver the right message depending on the segment. Some of them are going to be face-to-face, other one is going to be, I receive an email and that's all for me. So thinking about how that's one is going to be involved.
And on top of that, I think it's, if we look at the rep or the digital rep, we've oftentimes seen the evolution as it's about that relationship management, but it's also the engagement management, the ability to ensure that the engagements are happening. You mentioned about segmentation. So which kind of things, which kinds of actions are the right next best actions, whether they're digital or live with a representative or involved in the representative. So in order to ensure that those next engagements are actually occurring. So bringing that digital rep forward means participating in digital, maintaining that role of relationship builder, which is so essential to the organization. But how do we make sure that the representatives, beyond the basic skills, are doing more than just ensuring that their live meetings are good? Is it just the synchronous meeting that is important? I don't think so. I think it's also ensuring their involvement in some way, shape, or form in all of the asynchronous activities, the things that are being triggered, whether by them or by systems that the company is availing themselves of. So how is the rep somehow involved in that process, even if it's AI that is putting them there, right? So it's being able to be part of that entire relationship that they're managing and also engaging.
Thank you, Mark. And this leads us to the next question. Which is the definition of the role of the medical rep in this new digital era or environment? So let's hear about this, and maybe this time we can start with you, Ignacio.
And now I'm unmute, so that's perfect. No, I think that question somehow is related with the previous one. I'm thinking about how that one is going to move, what is going to be the role there. So as I mentioned there, I think the medical role is going to be evolving more in the way of on-demand and having these kind of interactions about these different things in a scientific aspects, but also not only about medical sales, thinking about the payers, thinking about all the different stakeholders. This question is only addressing these kind of two figures there inside the pharma, but we have many other people in field, like the key account manager, like different new roles as well, that they're going to be outside there interacting with many other people. I think the role of them in a new digital environment is going to be different in the way that it's going to be more hybrid model. They have to be able to manage all the different tools that they have right now in front of them. They have to be able to decide what kind of tools they're going to use when, what kind of message they're going to deliver, and maybe some of the tasks that they have before, maybe they are not going to be doing anymore because it's going to be more centralized, because it's going to be going for some stakeholders that don't want any kind of interactions and they want to just receive some kind of information, or they want to check this information in a website or receiving in a different way or other things. So I think this, not only the field force is going to be evolving, but also the number of stakeholders of the different segments that we mentioned there are going to be evolved as well, and we have to be able to adapt. And something that is going to be evolving as well in this kind of role is this kind of more artificial help, artificial intelligence in the way that taking the next decision on moving in that directions, because all this data information, the different insight that we are collecting there, all the insight that are outside, they are going to help them as well to deliver the right message, to go in the right direction and try to think more about solutions. I mentioned at the beginning, there's no thinking anymore about the brand experience and thinking more about this customer experience, how we are going to help that one's there. But that's evolving at the same time that we are thinking, that direction is evolving. So we have to be able to be agile and flexible and understanding everything and just prioritizing, deciding what's going to be the next one and then taking and investing there. And the other ones follow later.
Thank you, Ignacio. Anastasia?
Yeah, so as already mentioned, I fully agree. So about the help of IE or digital channels, the rep should use them to improve the efficiency of communication, yes, and really be a part of this customer experience, because I mean, they are the most powerful source, yes, of delivering the information, of you know, creating and some new versions and building this relationship at least. So, and what I really want to for medical representative feels like this. So they are really big part of the customer experience. And also what I'm also thinking about, it will depend, of course, on the company strategy. And maybe some days they won't have products. I mean, like usual RX or OTC products, but they will have some digital solutions that healthcare organizations trying to offer for a wider audience. I mean, as well for healthcare professionals. Maybe they will have some combination in their portfolio also of offerings. But yeah, it depends. It depends on the company.
Thank you, Anastasia. Mark?
Yeah, you mentioned medical rep. If we cast our mind back to where would we be without Google of what it is today, right? What does it give us is I don't need to think about whether I know anything. I can just type in a few words and I'll get something that's close to a response, and all of a sudden I have the information I need to be, you know, a pseudo expert on that topic from a high level.
Or
Not
missing.
using a clear example, but being able to be the medical rep that has at his or her disposal the wherewithal and the investments of the organization, however it's manifesting, to be able to deliver the best of that relationship and that information that's so required to the physician level or to the hospital organization. That's the critical role. So they have to feel at ease with obviously the therapeutic area and the various research and elements around it, but also at ease with what their organization is doing to assist them with the various tool sets, as well as those tools that are being brought forward to their professional partners. At the same time, do I expect them to become IT type of consultants? Not really. I think the role is more informational and softer touch than that in terms of relationship, but being able to feel the confidence that they've got the materials and then to bring those wares front and center when they have the opportunity to engage with the physicians and the medical establishment.
Thank you, Mark. Duncan?
So I think I sort of shot my bolt on the kind of big picture where I think things are you know, going in the long term, and I don't think everything is going to become like a, you know, a software integration challenge, but I do think it is an interesting area that the function of kind of sales and the medical rep might move into. I think in the more immediate term, the kind of customers, HCPs, pharmacists are increasingly stretched. They're being asked by kind of health systems to provide more with less or for less. And certainly that's something that's come out of any of the conversations I've had, and you know, sort of directly with HCPs and pharmacists. And the kind of human touch, the human engagement, is the point at which their needs can be identified and fed back into you know, large organizations. and those large organizations can help to support stretched HCPs and pharmacists, augment their products with additional services, provide at scale things that cannot be provided at a local level. And I don't think the technology itself is just going to sort of throw those insights back yet, and is certainly not going to be able to kind of deliver all of those things into the hands of the people who need them. So I think there is there's an immediate need, particularly after the last year. Health systems are no less stretched. That's certainly true. So I think there's certainly that kind of human component to the relationships is at least as important, if not more important, going forward and in the immediate term.
So H to H it is, human to human for sure. That's a component which we can't forget in this digital journey, right? But let's speak about how to measure the success of the digital journey, because I think that we still didn't make a unique compromise in that field. And here I would like to start with you, Mark, because you're the expert coming from a very famous solution vendor we held. You have these measurements in place. So how do you see what are those KPIs or critical factors of success to measure the success of the digital journey?
Yeah, well, thanks. And at the end of the day, I think it only is a journey if we have a plan to start from a point A, and we need to try to get to some point B. Not thinking from the corporate plan, but obviously they have that at the corporate level as well. But even at the individual brand, I've got a segment of physicians I would like that are resistant to particular therapy. Well, then what am I going to do over the next 12 months that will bring them from point A to point B? It doesn't mean that point B is nirvana. It means that they are more open to accepting the messages and the discussions that we have got defined. And so in that definition of a journey, it's really important to be able to have some metrics of measurement. Otherwise, the whole organization can't react and has nothing to rally around from a budget perspective or from a numbers and CRM type of perspective. So in the past, there was a straightforward measurement because it was limited in terms of numbers of channels. Now we've got different channels that are opening. Certainly there's high volume of email, but everybody and their uncle is sending so many email messages. That was the immediate knee-jerk reaction in the early stages of the COVID environment, was let's send as many email messages as we possibly can. Guess what? All physicians are now receiving a lot of emails. And if you are on a physician on a target list, you are certainly receiving lots of emails. But so how do you stand out from the crowd? What is the measure that will help you to stand out? I think at the end of the day, any of the digital channels, the most important function is the ability to measure the level of acceptance and engagement. And so if each channel can be properly measured of its engagements, then those numbers of engagements can be combined. You can use them to set targets for how do you get from point A to point B. You can adjust those targets as you need to and move the yardsticks over a period of time. Instead of 20 of this type of engagement, I can do it next year with 10 if I do it this way, that type of thing. And you can also value those engagements from a cost perspective. If it costs me, let's say $1 to do one engagement in one channel, but $100 to do an engagement in a different channel, then you're able to measure and see what applications you've got from a budgetary perspective. So I think getting to that level of I am expressing my journey, which has the best options of customer experience for my customers, but I'm able to do that with the right measures of engagement. And even if there's new mechanisms that those are also contributing to those measures of engagement, I think that's a critical part of how we define the journeys that we begin with, and then also how we reset that definition as we look to the next, let's say, year or budget plan or whatever the next cycle might be.
Thank you, Mark. Duncan?
So I agree with everything Mark's just said, particularly the sort of defining of point A to point B. I think often the kind of measurement gets kind of confused in the world of digital as something magical, but in the end you're trying to achieve something. What is it you're trying to achieve, and how do the different component activities you're undertaking drive towards that, and what's the data you can get back that can tell you whether it is working or it isn't working. So I think that's, there is just a sort of straightforward way of thinking about measurement that needs to be applied, and the sort of the mysticism of digital and data needs to be stripped out, because it's not magic. It's just, new technology applied to old processes, potentially creating new opportunities. But I have always worked at the global level, so I am somewhat removed from the kind of frontline commercial kind of market level relationships, and a lot of the measurement of what we do tends to be in the saving of costs. So if we can replace a system that has been procured individually by every local market, and every market is working with a separate partner and doing something in a different way, there's a huge amount of costs in the system. If we can identify the kind of base level requirements that sit across the entire organization, we're not going to do something that just deals with a specific local requirement. That will always be a kind of local initiative. If we can identify that base level and then swap out the patchwork of local solutions with one global solution, that's one cost centralized. It not only saves money on things like licensing fees, hosting, kind of professional services costs, it also saves a huge amount of time and resource across local markets, because that thing that was a sort of side headache to everyone is now gone and is dealt with centrally. So a lot of our measurement is more in the sense of, we know you're all doing this thing already, and we can make it cheaper if we centralize it and allow you to focus on the things that are unique to a local market. So we often can't say exactly what it's going to do everywhere, because that's up to the local market teams to drive the new thing that we've given them. But we make sure that we give them something that's at least as good as what they had, and save the organization a lot of money. And that tends to be how we get to kind of ROI and measurement, how much was saved while maintaining or improving on kind of previous metrics.
Thank you, Michael. Anastasiya?
Yes, I smile here a lot because I'm from local markets, and I really can imagine the situation with the global solutions coming to local one. I think it's not like a conversation about the global to local here, but yeah, of course, the cost savings are very important. However, in this situation, I think like a global team should be very faster, in adopting the solutions to everybody, because some markets are also very fast in implementing solutions, and they already have like a clear journey, but some of them are just still need to be pushed in this digital journey, at least, because they're just trying to be away. Yeah, but this is the different question. So regarding the measurement of the success, yes, I also agree that it's a very complex question, and Marcos has already mentioned, and the key indicators can lay in different areas, such as they could be as financial, they could be from a customer perspective, from the internal customer perspective as well. From my point of view, for companies, it will be beneficial to somehow combine and look at them from these three angles. If it's possible, of course, customer, internal processes, and business results. I think in the competitive environment, our clients are the main figures. So if they they understand and they believe in our solutions and they're loyal to them, of course, the company figures, in terms of profits, will grow up. And of course, in this case, we need to measure such kind of metrics as customer loyalty, engagement, for sure. But we should also not forget about the internal atmosphere in the company while this changes in digital journey, because we should be aware that all employees really understand where we are heading to. That means some measures or metrics around the team spirit, the speed of utilization of new technologies will be also useful. And of course, it goes without saying that like financial metrics or business results like market share, any profits or cost savings will be also the right metrics to concentrate on, because at the end of the day, they also help us to evaluate we choose the right direction or not. I mean, in the whole our digital journey. So yeah, in the picture perfect situation, we should combine all of them. But of course, each company should define a proper set of metrics that they can estimate, they can evaluate on a regular basis, and they will be clear on different levels of the organization, because I think it's also important one. Only in this situation, I think we can define, yeah, we have a successful journey, we will continue to in this direction, or we should choose another direction.
Very good point, Anastasiya, especially like you mentioned, you're coming from a local market, quite small market, right? So in particular, exactly. So please, Ignacio, can you build on that?
Yeah, no, I can build in two questions there. The global to local, I think, is more interesting question, but let's go there to the digital journey and how to measure the success. Now, I think, I'm sorry for being a little bit more practical. I think we have to be able to measure that once where it's tangible, because I don't want to just repeating what's happened a few years ago with this kind of in IT bubbles and everyone's just following about the number of the clicks in a website, and at the end there is no sales there, there is no supply, because it's just people going there and watching some information, no impact there. So I think we have to be able to create into setup of measures, one about this kind of more quantitative, and you mentioned there about saving the cost, about the sales, about the supply, about whatever other things where it's more metrical and tangible in that setting. The other one's more qualitative, so how the people is perceiving this kind of new strategy, new engagement, the way that we are proceeding to them and reaching this information and sharing, and is adding more value, or it's just volume and that's all, and more information in that setting. I think that one is important. But thinking about organizations, if I think the digital journey is going to have been a success, and also we are going to be able to measure if this is a success or no, if we are able to do impacting on people inside the companies as well, are we going to be able to create new roles, or we are going to be the same people with the same mindset with the new toys? So that's make no sense. If the digital journey is having a success, it's because we are skilling our skills, we are able to have creating new roles, we are able to change and switch our mindset in the way that we are embracing these kind of things, and we are more agile and flexible in the way that we are moving in that direction. Failure is okay. We have to be able to practice, to do it, repeating, learning, and be able to move in that directions. And I think that's one is how I will measure this kind of success in this digital journey.
Thank you, Ignacio. And last but not least, we are left with exactly 7 minutes. So we are approaching our last question. And with this one, I would like to start with you, Duncan, especially because you have this helicopter view also on other industries. And this is, could you propose the biggest digital trends for this year? So 2021, biggest digital trends.
Digital trends. It's a dangerous thing, digital trends, because you very quickly get into the world of kind of tech PR. Whatever hot startups are trying to promote their wares, they become the technologies that are much talked about. Some big deals are kind of inked in order to elevate their prices, and it's a little bit disconnected from what really is being done and certainly should be done. I've heard from kind of former colleagues, people I know who still work in the consumer tech, that the buzz phrase this year is synthetic media, which is taking the technology that's used to develop deep fake videos and using it to create personalized marketing assets, which sounds incredibly creepy and probably something that Pharma should steer well clear of. I can't think of a particular use case for something like that. So I'm going to be terribly boring and say that the trend, or at least the trend that should be going through Pharma now that digital is being scaled up and becoming a proper kind of functional muscle of pharma companies is audience sensitivity, is actually thinking about how digital is bringing you closer to your audience, how you make the experience better for your audience, how you connect with them more cheaply, more effectively, how you join up the points in their journey, and how that's not really a kind of magical digital thing. That is the responsibility of everyone in the organization to start applying and connecting technologies to make those engagements more meaningful. So it's not a kind of sexy Silicon Valley tech trend, but I think it's certainly what will be going on under the surface now as digital becomes a key part of the route to market.
I'm happy with the answer because you didn't say it's TikTok, so that's perfectly fine. Let's move forward to you, Anastasiya. What is your digital trends for this year in?
I think I will cover it from the like content perspective more, and I think it's like personalization. It's a hottest trend. It's of course not a brand new one, but I think right now when the market is so saturated with a lot of emails and that we already mentioned, of course, HCPs particularly want to receive a less information, but more, targeted and informative for them. Meaning that, of course, when they give us, the personal data, they want as an answer receive something personalized for them. So it's about personalization as well. One of the second trends that I could mention is authentic content, meaning that also HCPs, customers nowadays, understand most of such marketing manipulations, and they understand how we're trying to lead to our products, brands, etc. That's why they go to something authentic, yes, and not so related to brand, some organic one. And of course, right now, a lot of people would like to express their opinion, and they would like to join some communities. And in this situation, like user-generated content also will help at least marketeers, to establish a proper connection with the audience. And last but not the least, artificial intelligence. I suppose, yeah, we talked a lot about it in different angles. In terms of content, of course, I think this year it will more evolve from some generally rules or roadmaps for also will serve for better personalization and help us to understand and learn more, to find more insights, yes, to produce another content.
Thank you, Anastasiya. Mark?
Well, from our perspective, what we think is the industry is looking for, and is much more content of any kind, including authentic and brand materials as well. But to be able to do so, really optimizing the speed of generation of content and looking for new ways to personalize, new ways to create different forms of engagements. In particular, we've spoken to a number of people about using video more effectively across their existing tool suite. So speed and ability to deliver more content. I think that also aligns with the notion of automation. If you can automate the 80% of base needs that any core organization would have across essential channels, then you can focus the rest of the effort on the 20% that are really value add and authentic and require a lot more hand-holding. I think in terms of a digital trend, it's important to maintain that level of experimentation that people have referenced, as well be agile in terms of adopting new items. It's important to plan for cleansing of channels or cleansing of content, but I personally, this is a Mark opinion, I don't believe it's the right moment to cleanse just yet. You need to have an approach that is agile and be able to cleanse. But I think we're still 12 months away from really starting to pare back these journeys, because we've yet to see that they've been executed at scale with good volume of new content, that with experimentation in a way that favors the digital rep as well. And I think that's sort of the next cycle that we need to embrace fully. And certainly the cleansing will come in a very agile manner as we move forward.
Thank you, Mark. And final words from you, Ignacio. You're perfectly in time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try to do it in less than a minute because I think we are running out of time. And I think I fully agree with all the comments there with the panelists in that setting. I agree with the personalized way in the different approaches what we're going to be during this year. Everyone is going to be more aware about different non-information. Who knows? Everyone now knows about testing and about different other things. So now I think this kind of personalized way to go is going to be more holistic, molecular, genetic. Everyone's going to be understanding all the kind of things. I think the word here is quantify health, because I think the big trends there is going to be just not only personalized, but also linking the drug with the sensors, with the information, and then all these things going to create more information and insight to be able to digest and be able to take in the different actions in that setting. And at the same time, it's going to create less workloads for the people working in the companies, more for the machines, and then it's going to add more value for the people there. For this reason, I think the new trend is going to come more for upskills, where people is having right in mind to be able to manage the new trends that are coming outside, because these trends are not going to come only for the pharmas. It's going to come for many new players like Amazon, Uber, Lyft, and many others. So that's big trends are the one we're going to be impacting more.
Right, Mark Cuban as well. He said he also plans to do the generic pharma business. So, but okay, that's another story. So thank you very much. Extremely interesting team. We will publish the video on our official YouTube channel. So once again, thank you very much, Anastasiya, Mark, Ignacio, Duncan. Wish a nice rest of the evening. Take very good care, and hope to see you very soon on our next edition of the next webinars. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.